Have you ever wanted to solo your favorite TTRPG? Well, today we're going to be covering just that, but for Legend in the Mist. Let's break it down. Hi, hello everybody, my name is Turk. Welcome back to the Grouch Couch. Around here we all different kinds of weird TTRPG things, but today we're covering my favorite TTRPG of this year, 2025, and we're going to be talking about how to solo it. I've seen a lot of questions in the community, and I've even been looking over it myself, and I do think it could be a little bit confusing, so I think making this video is kind of a good one to do, especially because I will be starting my very own solo actual play right here on the channel following a character that I've created. I'm really excited about it. So before we do that, we're going to cover how to solo. And if you want to see this game soloed in action, make sure to subscribe and check the description of the video down there because there might already be a playlist that'll get you right over to the actual play. But if the playlist isn't there yet, that means you're one of the Couch crew members already. So thank you so much for joining us. All right. Today, my friends, we're going to be reading right out of the PDF of this book to learn how to solo it. I do not have a physical as much as I love physical books. And I really hope one day to be able to get the collector's edition of Legend in the Mist because I freaking want it so bad. Today we're going to be reading the PDF. And I do want to give a big shout out to the Sacred Art of Gaming for doing my first ever super thanks on the channel. Thank you so much. And you doing this has actually allowed me to get the PDF. I'm so broke recently I couldn't even afford the PDF. So thank you so much for getting it to allow me to be able to make videos on it. We appreciate you so much. Thank you. Sacred Art of Gaming. All right, so very quickly, if you didn't already know, what is Legend of the Mist? Obviously, it's a rustic fantasy RPG by Son of Oak. All right, the same team that made The City of Mist and Otherscape. This game focuses on tags instead of stats, which I think is really, really cool and perfect for a solo game, and that's why I think this is very, very exciting, especially if we can manage to nail this down and play it right. Using tags instead of stats is going to be perfect for a solo game. Basically, you're going to roll 2d6 for pretty much everything in this game, and you're going to add your tags to it. It's going to give you +1s and +0s to that 2d6. It's really simple to come up with quick outcomes or detailed outcomes, right? And solo and co-op is actually baked into the rules of this book with an oracle that we're going to get into. It's technically in volume 2, page 238, if you're following along. We're going to pull that up in a minute. Before we do, let's talk about the tools that you will need to solo play this game. I feel like it's really important to always talk about this and how to solo, right? I always do this. First of all, you're going to need the PDF, which is the core book, all right? Volume 1 in this core book has the normal hero rules to help you be able to create your character. Volume 2 has the narrator tools as well as the oracle, and that's what you're going to want for sure. The oracle in volume 2. Now, the core rulebook comes with volume 1 and volume 2 built in. They just kind of categorize it that way to make it a little bit more simplified. In the future, they'll probably make 2 separate books. Physical, probably. They might have already, but right now the PDF has both. And also, you're only going to need 2 6-sided dice, or 2d6s. They actually have custom acorn dice that actually look like 10-sided dice, but they're actually just a d6 twice on each dice. It's very, very, very cool. Cool, then of course you're going to need some paper if you're playing physical. You're going to need Foundry if you're playing digital. I'm going to do a separate video about how to set up Foundry with the system because I know for a fact that it's confusing. The developers themselves have made playing this digitally confusing on Foundry. It's so confusing, and I'm going to make a separate video about it, and we'll talk about that later. And that's it. You're good. All right, so basically the PDF, 2d6, paper, you're set. Now that we've got all worked out what exactly that we need, it's important to talk about making a character for solo play, all right? It's a little bit different, I think, than playing with a group when you're talking about making a character for solo, all right? Talking about the makings of a hero. Now, if you're following along in the PDF, this is page 72 all the way to page 141. There's a lot of stuff in here for making a character. They really wanted to give you so many options that you know you have all these options. But truthfully, you can come up with whatever the crap that you want to come up with. For this game, they just included extras. The makings of a hero could kind of be like 3 pages, 4 pages. It's super easy, all right? So don't get intimidated by the 74, whatever it is, pages of making a character. Now let's talk about making a hero for solo. And I'm just going to scroll through a lot of this stuff in this here beautiful, beautiful PDF with all this beautiful, beautiful art. I don't know if I mentioned it already, but the artist of the Son of Oak stuff recently followed us on Instagram, and I'm dumbfounded about that. I messaged him and told him how much I love their art, and I was like, will you please make me character art for actual play? But they're too busy making art for book. Anyways, moving on. We love this art. Let's talk about making a character for solo play, okay? Because heroes in this game, we all know this already. You should know this, okay? Heroes are made out of themes, all right? Which are a collection of tags plus a weakness, all right? In the actual play comic, they do like spirited youth, skilled with a bow, etc., all right? But you could honestly come up with whatever the heck you want, okay? Truthfully. But each theme in this book, or each theme that you come up with, comes with a little quest, right? They suggest you put a little quest at the bottom, all right? So like the examples on screen right here. Honor my father by keeping his legacy. Patience is a virtue. Stuff like that. So there's other examples in this book, like I must go and find my mother's cure for medicine so she doesn't die, right? That's like a full quest. My advice, when you're making a solo character, you need to make like pseudo quests, just like these examples here. These are kind of like little mini quests that your character will follow pretty much indefinitely. And every time you do actively follow one of those quests, you can improve or disregard some of your skills and tags to actually make your character improve. So like, I will always follow the law. Like that's important. So when you do make a choice to follow the law instead of breaking the law, you're going to level up your character, right? These should be like pseudo quests, right? Little light quests. They're almost like feats and flaws of a character is what these quests are. I think the word quest for this here is actually kind of, it sends you in the wrong direction, right? It's not right. It shouldn't be a quest. It should be like a feature, a flaw. You know what I mean? Something your character must follow, right? So for solo play, do not pick themes, little theme cards. Do not pick like skilled with a bow. Don't do that, okay? If you want to be a bow user, pick something else that has more of a backstory to it. Something with more sustenance. You know what I'm talking about? How were you skilled with a bow? Why are you skilled with a bow? What is going on? Like give your character more depth. Don't just say skilled with a bow because you want to use a bow. That's a dumb theme, okay? Come up with something that's way more fulfilling, like someone taught me to use a bow. Who was it that taught you to use that bow? You know what I mean? Like trained with a bow or something. And you like put it down in the details. You know what I mean? Like what is going on with that? That's an awful example. But you know what I'm talking about. Try to put more depth in your themes because then it's going to help push your story forward. And as long as your quests match up with those themes, it's really going to help you play solo in this because you're going to need a lot. You're going to need to be able to pick from all these different places to be able to play a good solo game with this game. Now, my friends, you should already know this, all right? If you're a part of the Couch crew, all right? But I have a whole playlist on how to make better solo characters and how to play solo better and other kinds of stuff on the homepage of our channel, all right? There's a whole playlist of it. You can check it out. So if you want to know how to make a character that you will actually care about, especially for solo, I have a video about it. Go check that out. Subscribe. Thank you. Righteous. But remember to use your weakness tags as well. Okay, weakness tags, as we talked about earlier, are going to give you a -1 in your rolls, but whenever you use them and you still succeed, then you get to level up, all right? Make sure to use them weakness tags. It's important. Okay, before we move on how to solo, let's just get a quick reminder of how to play this game, all right? Because it's important to remember before we know. It's important to know the limits before we start pushing them, okay? There are so many pages in this book on how to play this game, but I'm gonna tell you straight up, it's so easy, it's so rad, okay? It's super simple. They even include a free comic book that you can get to learn how to play this game. You can just download it and play the little comic book. It's such a cool thing to do, a comic book as well. And it's full color, you can actually see it on screen. It's wonderful. The artist did a good job. So, there's a cycle of play with this game, all right? And it's actually, the best place to find it is actually in the comic book, which I think is kind of a hindrance because there isn't actually like a rules page in the rules book. It's just the comic book, the best play to find. Anyways, okay, the cycle of play. We're establishing a scene, like building out the scene, talking about everything we can see, everything that's going on, right? Everything that is important, especially if we're a solo player. We need to know all the good details. We're going to be rolling in oracles to figure all that out later. But for now, we're establishing a scene. We're asking what does our character do, and then we're rolling for an outcome, all right? This is mostly covered on page 17 all the way up to page 19 here in this comic book thing. This beautiful art, okay? What do you do? Right, it's right there. There are 3 resolution modes to playing this game. You've got simple, where you just roll, or you just narrate, and that's wonderful. We're gonna be doing that a lot playing solo, okay? There's also a quick roll, which is 2d6 plus your tags, okay? Simple, easy. There's also a detailed roll, where you're gonna use the numbers you get from your tags to apply status effects to things. So if you get like a +1 from your bow, and a +1 from this, and a +1 from that, you got 3 power now to spend, and you could put it on stuff, right? You could be like, oh, this guy actually, he's gonna take 2 and hobbling, or he's going to be stunned for 2. And that's kind of how you deal damage, right? Whenever you do a detailed roll, you're doing detailed damage by spending the power that you just spent to get the bonuses on the rolls, and you put it into stuff. Copy that? You understand? I hope you're nodding along at home, all right? You're probably not. We've got stunned, we've got hobbling, you can do like persuaded, you can do all different kinds of negative tags you can put on enemies. Because the thing is that every enemy is going to have like a limit that you want to hit. Probably 5 or 6 for like every single enemy, right? And once they hit that limit of -5 on that status, you've defeated them. You've moved on. You're good to go, right? I don't really think in the book they have like a good average limit. We'll talk about that more once we get to Oracle, but pretty much 3 to 9 is going to be like your average Oracle things, your average limit things, all right? Now, we're finally on to the good stuff, everybody. Thanks for sticking in for the first 2 minutes of this video. I just felt like it was important to cover that, especially if there's a lot of people out there who have not read as much about Legend of the Mist as the rest of us have, okay? You can't expect everyone to have all the knowledge, all right? And we want everyone to know how awesome this book is. Yeah. Now we're on to the good stuff. Thanks for sticking in through all the other stuff. It's important to cover all that stuff, I feel, because not a lot of people have read into the Legend of the Mist as much as me and you have. You know what I mean? So it's important to cover all that stuff. But now we're getting into how to solo play this game. Now you should know this, but when you're solo playing anything, you are not only the player character, the hero of the story, but you are also the narrator. And when you are the narrator, when you are in doubt, you must always roll on the Oracle. That's right. But we need to remember right here at the top, okay? We are playing a game. This is not a creative writing exercise. We need to remember to roll dice. We're playing a TTRPG. We're playing a game. We are not creatively writing something, okay? If you want to creatively write, go write a book, my friend, all right? But today we're playing games, which is important. Now, the Oracle, it is entering now. The Oracle starts on page 238 on volume 2 in the PDF core rulebook of this game, okay? It's 238 onward. The Oracle is the decision engine for solo co-op play, all right? It's got a lot of key functions in here. Talking about yes and no answers to your questions. You're gonna roll to see if the world answers favorably or non-favorably to you, okay? It's gonna have twist prompts, discovery prompts, all right? We're gonna be generating mysteries and lore and NPC behavior. There's a lot of roll charts in the Oracle part of this book. There's a lot of pages, okay? They included a lot. I think they really had solo play in mind when they made this book. I really think they did. It's crazy to me, but I think that the system they developed with the tags is perfect for solo playing, all right? So I think that that's very important. So before we get into full details, I'm gonna do a lot of reading through this PDF here and explaining to you, all right? We're gonna be talking about things. I wanna remind you that I'm going to have an actual play series if you wanna just see it in action, okay? But one of the important reasons I wanted to do this video is because everyone is going to solo play things differently. Truthfully, there's gonna be different little nuances. People are gonna do things a little bit differently. They're gonna roll dice at different times differently. They're gonna, you know what I mean? The important thing to remember, there's a lot of pages to go through, so the important thing to remember, as long as you're having fun and you're playing the game, you can draw resources from other places. You can find a new way to roll for yes or no answers. You could flip a coin. You can get a coin that says yes or no, and you can just flip that bad boy. You don't gotta do what they say. You don't gotta do anything that they say in the Oracle part of this book. You don't! But they have included all kinds of stuff to get you started, get your brain going, and just have some fun. Everyone's going to play it differently. And that's why I want to just give you an example and just talk about this book in general, because my actual play might be a little different from someone else's, and that's totally okay. As long as we're having fun, we're telling stories, and we are enjoying the Legend in the Mist, because it's rad, okay? So, I'm going to read a lot of this book right now. This is going to be the big back end of this here video. So, stick with me, and let's just read through this thing. Let's talk a little bit about it. Let's do it. The Oracle. Hopefully there's a timestamp here on the video, and if you skipped this part to remind yourself how to solo play this game, good on ya. If you haven't, bookmark this video so you can always come back if you ever second guess or question yourself. But remember, play however you want to. It'll make you happy. First, let's take a second to appreciate this beautiful art of the Oracle. It's just maddening how cool it is. All right, the Oracle here, it's a set of tools that help you imagine what happens next in your story. It allows you to play Legend of the Mist in solo mode or in co-op mode without a single player acting as the narrator. The Oracle presented over the next few pages can provide random answers to help you create situations, but it is just another tool at your disposal. The Oracle does not generate complete answers to your questions. Instead, it relies on your creative interpretations of the results in the context of the story. We all know this. Whenever we roll for something like damage and explosion, we must then interpret those two words in our mind. And it's pretty similar here, all right? So we're going to let our creativity lead us. We're going to let the story lead us. I'm not going to be reading every single word here. I'm going to be paraphrasing and just doing the important things to help you digest. All right, keeping a journal. You do not need to keep a journal, but I've talked a little bit about keeping a journal in books and how to masterfully do a solo play. It's in one of my playlists. You could check that video out. But using some kind of written record will help you keep track of all of the fun things that have happened in your story. When using another popular solo playing tool like Mythic, it has you write down your threads, your main quest lines, and your main character. And even moving that forward, I think writing down your main quest lines and your main characters in your journal is probably probably the bare minimum that you should do, right? It's like I have mom, dad, whatever. Because later on, you can actually put numbers next to those names, and you can randomly roll up things whenever NPCs or quest threads might show up in your story. Now, over here, there's a little bit of a explanation here on a D6 and a D66, all right? If you didn't know, a D6 is just a 1D6 roll. A D66 is when you roll them both and interpret both of them. As you see down here, it says you can get an 11, a 22, a 33. It's basically from 11 to 66 using those double numbers, all right? You can get any of those, 12, 13, 14, etc. It's a way for them to come up with an extra Oracle dice roll without making you have to get more dice, right? They want you to only have to use the acorn dice that they're providing, which I want so bad, and I'll get some eventually, all right? But 2d6 is all you need. Okay, there are a couple different kinds of oracles in this book, okay? If you don't know what an oracle is, it's basically a random roll chart, or a random roll, or basically what an oracle is, okay? Question oracles for yes or no answers. Conflict oracle is used to discover the details of your next scene, adventure, or series, right? So you can come up with conflict cards or like enemy cards by rolling on a conflict oracle, because they use these conflict cards. So we spoke about earlier on how to play this game. Conflicts are going to have limits, right? And that ranges from enemies to mountains. An enemy might need to be stunned 6 times and have a -6 in stun before you defeat. A mountain might need a -6 in climbing before you defeat it, all right? If you're like rolling agility and getting successes and using your power to climb further up, you're going to continue to do -1s up this mountain to climb up to the top, all right? And it's pretty much for everything. If you want to do a limit card on unlocking a door, a conflict card, technically you can, all right? I would probably just do a simple roll for that, or a quick roll, not a detailed roll, and that's the difference, okay? If you're wondering what a simple, quick, and detailed roll is, that's the difference. So there are some pre-made profile oracles. You can actually just pick random challenges from this book, which I'm probably going to do in my actual play series, so I don't have to come up with a bunch of challenges myself. I like things to flow pretty rapidly whenever I tell my stories. I don't like to get bogged down, so I might use some of the pre-made thing, and we'll talk about that. There's also profile builders to help you create your own challenges on the fly. The challenge action oracle, used to discover the challenge's next action. So does the enemy or the mountain attack you? Right. The consequence oracle, which is going to be really important, because anytime you roll, I think it's below a 6 or whatever, you have consequences. And if you don't think of one off the bat just to come up with on your own, which I probably will almost all the time, you can also roll on a consequence oracle to roll it randomly, which is kind of fun. It's basically like a failure oracle. Like what happens when you fail, you know? Then there's a revelations oracle, used when playing mountain style series, which I'm not exactly detailed on mountain style, but we'll get into that. Now, they have this really cool timeline thing set up, all right, to help you kind of put things together. And it might not make sense. I know that words can just be words, and I understand that. So if you do want to hop over to the actual play, it's not in the description. I might be doing a little bit of this, but I might actually kind of be doing my own little bit of flow, all right? So I think it's important to cover this as well so you know where I'm coming from. It's good to know the limits before we push them. So you're going to set up your game, build your character, pick your genre, figure out what's going on, right? You could also make more than one character if you want to have a full-on fellowship. Secondly, you're going to develop some kind of challenge. A challenge, really, again, it's a weird word for that. It could be a quest, all right? In a series where the main villain or problem is known at the start, you can use a conflict oracle to discover who or what and interpret the results on a large scale, right? Region, entire, whatever. In a series where it's not known at the start, you will create it during the game while playing a mountain series. So that makes more sense. What I'm going to be doing for sure is playing a mountain series. I'm not going to know exactly what the heck's going on in the world as soon as I play, but I will have a lot of character threads that I'm going to be working out on, and they're going to develop as we go. It's the best way to do it, I think. Then we're going to discover our first adventure, right? So what, it says here, drives your hero to set out on a journey or face adversity. This is important because in Legend of Mist, it's all kind of about the little things, right? The smell of tea burning on a fire, the way the leaves are falling from the cherry blossom tree while you lay under it, bathe in the sun, and the warmth on your skin, right? It's very rustic fantasy like that. So while you're in your village, what is going to get you to leave that village and go out on an adventure? Also, you could still stay in your adventure and kind of do little quests around the village. Maybe there's something going on with the village itself. So you need to figure out what your first adventure is. And you could use the conflict oracle to roll it and interpret the results. Super easy. We can talk about why your hero embarks on this adventure and which of their quests could be at stake. So if we reference back to our character sheet, the quests on our things could be at stake. So if you are bound to follow the law, maybe some lawbreaker came through your town and stole a bunch of gold from some people. You want to make sure that he gets what's coming to him for justice, right? Because you're following the law. Your quest is at stake here. Or something along those lines. That's kind of a really bad example, but something along those lines. All right. And I mean, after you create your first adventure, you're going to continue to solve issues by setting up scenes, saying what your character does, rolling the dice, and then rolling with the outcomes. And as you finish one challenge, you're going to set up the next challenge, right? So discover the scene, choose or create a challenge profile, if there even is a challenge, because a lot of times I feel like it could just be chill. This is rustic fantasy, right? We could just be rolling up detail. And then you're going to play out the scene, describe the scene, set the stakes, introduce the important challenges and threats, right? And then you're going to take an action. And then from the action, you're going to develop the consequences. And then you're going to wrap the scene in the adventure and run it back. And you can actually do challenge cards for every single scene if you want to. Or you can do one really big challenge card that's going to lay you out for multiple scenes and you're trying to discover things. And because of that one really big challenge card, there might be a bunch of little mini ones. Like maybe there's one really big bad guy, right, that you got to take down. But he's got a bunch of little guys that are all around this forest that you have to take out one by one before you can even make it to the big bad guy. And every single little forest place you go to, you're going to establish that next scene. If you go into a hut in the forest, if you find the enemy's camp, you're going to establish a new scene there, etc., etc. And that's basically the game loop in a nutshell, as I can discover it. I know for a fact, okay, that while I'm playing the actual game, in the actual play, I might discover some more nuances, some more things that I didn't exactly see when my first read through of the rules, or something that I might figure out that might work better for me, and I might suggest that to you to do the same. So again, check out the actual play and see how I do it. I really am gonna try to go in as hard as I can and follow the rules as best that I can. So also, I wanna say right here, down in the comments, anybody watching this, if you have advice for other people watching this video trying to learn how to solo play, or if you found cool things on how to solo play this, leave them down there so we can all get informed. And if you aren't even someone who's playing it, but you're learning, make sure to check the comments because there might be some fun things down there, some fun conversations. This is all about informing each other on how to play things and what the cool games are that we have to our disposal to play with, right? Anyways, sorry, I'm a voice actor that goes off some. Yeah, y'all know how it is. Okay, so this is the quick part of the solo thing, the question oracle. If you've ever played solo before, you should know a lot about the question oracle. Every solo book has their own way to do yes or no answers. Everyone does. And you can come up with your own. You could even pull a yes or no answer from something else that you enjoy better than what they have on offer for us here, okay? I mean, I literally have cards sitting next to me that have big old yes and no on the front of them. I have another video covering those. Check that out if you want to. So, we're going to read it here. Whenever you run into a question, you don't know the answer, you can roll 2 6-sided dice, as you would for a hero action, and interpret the results. Yes or no answer. You roll 2 6-sided dice, you add power, and power in this case treats any tags or statuses that could sway the answer to yes as a positive, and any tags or statuses that could weigh the answer to no as a negative, which I think is really, really cool. You could use scene tags that you might have going on, like if it's really foggy outside, or you know what I mean, something else like that. Oh, if there's fog, that means there could be a fog creature. I'm going to add a +1 to my yes answer. Is there a fog creature here? Roll it, +1. Boom. Double ones are always an extreme no, regardless of power. 6 or less, the answer is no. 7 or 9, it's complicated, so yes, but, or no, but, right? And on a 10 or more, the answer is yes. And double 6s are always an extreme yes. It's pretty straightforward. I think the idea of adding in your negative and positive tags are a really cool idea, right? It's honestly kind of badass. Just gonna say that right here. Additionally, you could roll a d66 and compare the outcome to the interpretive question table. Interpret the answer to your question based on the ideas and concepts in the line that you rolled. The interpretations column contains inspirations for answers based on the concepts and people. In the next page, you'll find specific answers for characters, attitude, types of magical beings, terrain features, and everyday items. Magical beings, man, I'm so excited for that. Okay, types of yes or no questions. We don't need that. I just kind of did that. Interpretive question oracle. Right. So this is kind of like tarot cards. I mean, it literally is. I'm just going to say it. It's tarot card. I've recently been trying to put together a tarot card oracle myself. If you want access to that, just join our Discord. I'll give it to you for free, okay? It's got all different kinds of tarot card ideas on it. I'm developing it. It's just a fun project. Okay, this is literally tarot card. You roll a d66. These are the titles of the tarot cards here on the left. On the right side, these are the answers to kind of the tarot cards. The interpretive question oracle, to me, kind of feels like circumstantial. I feel like they're supposed to be descriptor words. Like, for example, if you roll the marshal, right? Pride, skill at arms, organized and orderly, a soldier or law enforcer. The witch, ugliness, intuition, vengeance, and outcast. So these are kind of like descriptor words oracle, which we've seen a lot, right, in our time. It's basically what it is. For me, I think when I'm rolling up NPCs, I'm going to use the tarot cards because these give good explanations to NPCs that we could have. Like the Bloody Crown could be a brother and a sister for NPCs, two forces clashing with each other. Another one, the Well, could be a mysterious stranger, right? So it just has it there. I think this roll chart is going to be good for NPCs. That's what I think. But also you could use it for descriptor words if you don't have another descriptor word oracle somewhere. Now we get down here and again, we have attitudes, the NPCs towards you. We have magical beings, terrain features, and everyday items. These are self-explanatory. You need one of these things for your story, roll it, put it in. Gotcha. But before I move on too far, I want to go back to this for a second because these are really the only descriptor words that they give you. So you're probably going to need another oracle chart. You know, I might try to use this one, but only having 50 words is kind of like not enough for me, I think. But being that we can get more things from these other roll charts, I think is really cool. Yeah, it's a little tough. It's a little tough. But I shouldn't judge it too hard right now because in the actual play series, we're going to give it our dang old college try. Maybe it's awesome. Maybe it's going to work out perfectly. I don't know yet, all right? I like thousands of words. I do. I have little mini roll charts just sitting around that have millions of little words on them that I can roll on. But you know what? We're going to play the Legend of the Mist solo, and we're going to see how it goes. That's what we're going to do. Now, moving on, we've got the conflict oracle. So if you cannot think of a conflict yourself, all right? If you cannot think of one, you can actually use these roll charts to come up with a quest/conflict yourself. Now, I was confused when I first read this because I thought this was just a roll chart itself. The way that it's like shaped, I thought it was a roll chart. It was really confusing. But this is an example. This is what they rolled for. This is an example. That's fine. That doesn't help. But if we want to roll our own, right, we can actually be like, oh no, what's going on in the village today? We can roll a D66 and we can say a community or organization presents a dilemma. They have an influence, right? And it's a quest-related person or group, right? Who is the target of the challenge? So you can just roll on it and then you can come up with one and you can go, how does this work with my character? And then you can kind of like put it together and figure it out, right? There's some pretty straightforward ones. An unseen force is tricking a nearby location of your camp, right? And then they give you like full-on scene tags to be able to apply in. So like influence or sapper, loss of resource, beguiled, right? Could be something going on in your village, something happening right now. And I think that's really fun. It's a cool little roll chart to use. But this second one, I believe, is better. I think it's way better because it has locations, a challenge, a secondary challenge, and story tags that come with it, right? So it talks about people and the mood of things and other kinds of stuff. And really, whenever you're creating your challenge card, you're going to put all these things in the challenge card and kind of think about them while you're putting everything together. I hope this makes sense because I think the challenge cards are the more complicated part of solo playing this. I really do. But they include a lot of information here. For me, I'm going to come up with my own challenges straight up. I might roll for the like effects and stuff, which I think they have here. This one's also just really good. So challenge category, what creatures or monsters might be there, reasons, persons or people, places and events. You can make another challenge card using this one. And the cool thing is though, they have a pre-made profile oracle. So the pre-made profile oracle is going to list all the challenges and profiles as well as journeys and vignettes that are available in the book in the Satchel of Perils, page 102. It is divided into typical fantasy areas listed in the first column. You can roll a D66 for a random area, or you can just pick an area. So let's talk about if you just go into like open water, let's say, is what you're on. You can just pick open water and then you can roll on the rest of these to see what's going on, right? You could hypothetically be like, where's my character starting today? And then you could roll on these locations right here, and then you roll on the other ones moving forward, right? It's kind of cool. Some of them obviously have more than other ones. And if you did do the pre-made ones, I think you'd be a little bit limited, right? But it is kind of cool that it's there. And I think going to these things and taking a look at them is going to help you. So if we actually go over to the Ragged Gesture here, because they actually have them down, if you're in the Oracle and you go to that page, they have them all down below that, right? So they're all down here. So you can actually see these challenge action oracles, right? And they actually have them by challenge rating. So you can actually see the commoner only has a challenge rating of 1, etc., etc. And if you want them like in full, there are some that are actually included back further in the book. So if you click on the Ragged Gesture, page 158, it actually has it fully listed out for you here. So you can actually see them in total. And I think think looking at the challenges, seeing what they offer, and then making your own little challenge cards is kind of a smart thing to do. You're like looking at what challenge cards are supposed to be, and then you can look over and see what you want to make whenever you make your own, right? So I'm not going to go through all these, but there is a lot, and they're pretty cool, guys. They're pretty cool. So if you want to use pre-made ones, you absolutely can. You can also use chance encounters and other kinds of stuff if you don't want to do locations, which is kind of cool. And then they have a whole profile builder to create a challenge profile. So you pick a mighty aspect, a challenge rating, a limit, which is important. We talked about those a couple of times. You pick tags and statuses that they might have, right? And those might be kind of self-explanatory. Like, dude has sword, dude has shield. He has a tag of shield. He can block one. You know what I mean? Don't think about it too much. And also threats and consequences. So example, the Beaverkin Defender, the hero, one adventure theme, comes across a dam guarded by a cautious beaver. Number 1 is might. Initially, none, 1 less than the hero. Its challenge rating, the narrator rolls 6, adding an adventure aspect, wetland deftness. A second roll gets a 3, so the CR is 3. And if you read back over here, it says, roll a dice if you're at the beginning of your adventure, roll 2 dice and pick the lower one. If you're approaching its end, pick the higher. If the result is 1 to 5, that is your challenge rating. If you rolled a 6, increase might, add 1 adventure aspect, or gain an existing adventure aspect right. It takes you through all the steps. Pretty cool. Then you pick its limits. So fighting them is the hardest way through. So harm 4, CR +1. Next comes reassuring. They are cautious, so you can reassure the beavers instead, which is also kind of important. Finally, if the hero can draw them away from the dam, the defender can easily outrun. Overland -1. Right. Then they have tags and statuses. So they have the dam, the wooden spear, the wooden shield. Right. The tags and statuses, I feel like, man, I'm going to go crazy on these. They're just going to be all over the dang place. And I'm kind of worried about playing digitally, especially with the current digital setup and how much I fucking hate it. And I want to play physical, but that's okay. We're going to get there. I'm going to have a video covering that later. So, moving on. The challenge action oracle helps you choose an action for your challenge, right? So, you could actually make these dice rolls here. This is a totally separate oracle, by the way. All right, we've moved on to a different oracle. So, if you want to know what your enemy is going to do, like you can't come up with an idea, you can actually roll on it. If they are an aggressor, if they're going to attack, maneuver, or rally, you can actually roll a d6 and then come up with what they're gonna do. And that's so cool. And I think Dragonbane or something else does like a roll chart for enemy actions. And I also think Draconim, a book we played recently on the channel, did the same thing. This is just a revelation to have roll charts for enemy actions in the TTRPG world, and everyone needs to do it now forever. If you make a TTRPG and you don't do this, I'm gonna be mad at you. Okay, thank you. So they have each type itself: a charge, an aggressor, a countdown, influence, obstacle, mystery, and pursuer. So no, the mountain isn't going to lash out with a violent strike, all right? The mountain is an obstacle. You're going to roll on this one. Entangle, web, paralyze, or otherwise restrain players through. Give restrained. If you're on a snowy mountain, there's going to be a lot of snow. You're going to get a little strain from that. Right. That's it. And it continues on all the way down. Now, finally, is the Consequence Oracle. So, the Consequence Oracle is going to help you choose non-challenge consequences for an action. This happens when an action had no threat or blocked a threat from a challenge, but still generated consequences due to a 7 to 9 outcome or other rule. You'll roll a d66 to find the matching consequence and interpret it for a situation, or roll a d6 for a more specific result. So, whenever you roll something and you fail, and you weren't necessarily rolling to beat a challenge, and you still get consequences, you come over here and you roll a d66. The easiest one is the one at the bottom for wasted time. But whenever you roll that d66, if you get that number there, you can actually get more details on it by rolling another 6. So you can all the way down to here. Now you can see on a 4, create a negative condition tag, and open an opponent advances, etc. Very good. Now, finally, I think this is the last one, the Revelations Oracle. Thanks for sticking with me through this whole thing. I appreciate y'all. The Revelations Oracle is used to reveal series-level lore and details that propel your epic journey forward in a mountain-style series. This one's very important. It's very exciting. Read the full explanation under Playing a Solo or Co-op Mountain Series on page 71, but use this oracle whenever your heroes make a major discovery, but you're not sure what it is. This could be when they finally reach the reclusive druids and have a chance to learn about the cause of the plague, etc. This table is divided into 3 acts of the mountain: Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And I feel like this is like, if you're doing a full mountain, in my head, Act 1 is going to be like 2 or 3 episodes, or at least until I think this is the end of the first act. Like, my character has saved a village, but now we got to move on to the next place. We're at the end of the act. Maybe we reveal something at that point. Then we can roll on this thing. A great threat will produce many more dangers if the heroes don't rise to meet it. Right, this might actually propel your stories forward, but Act 3 is actually going to kind of end these things, right? the heroes are now able to approach the great danger and make their attempt to stop it. Oh, we love that. I just want to take a quick skip over to page 71, Legend of the Mist Volume 2, the narrator. All right, this is in the narrator part. Playing a solo or mountain series, this basically covers full on it. I picture mountain series as like normal D&D campaigns that follow full on stories. All right, just using single challenge cards isn't necessarily a mountain series. It's kind of just like you're in a village, solving every day-to-day quests and kind of building out lore in that village, which could be a lot of fun and could be really good for this rustic setting to like relieve stress. But if you want to tell a long-winded adventure, that's what mountain is. It also has it here. Act 1 ends when you leave your familiar ordinary world. Act 2 ends when you've revealed about half of the Great Danger's plans. And Act 3 ends when your hero makes their last attempt to stop the Great Danger. I don't think my story's gonna have a Great Danger, but it's gonna have a great reveal, I think. I hope. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? Anyways, there's a lot of other good stuff in this book. I really hope that I helped you if you were struggling figuring out how to solo play this. This is just an introduction video. If you do want to do more with me in solo playing The Legend of Mist, please check out the things down in the description. And my friends, use the links down in the description to help support the show. You can pick up this book and all different other kinds of books on TTRPG and Amazon. Or you can pick up merch for the Grouch Couch, baby. Or you could join our Discord. You could follow us on Instagram, just like the artist of Legend of the Mist did recently. Or you could do all different other kinds of stuff and join the friggin' couch crew, friends, because I guess what? I've been Turk. Thank you so much for watching. For now, take a seat on the couch and roll initiative, my friends. At least for a little while. See you next time. Roll on that, weirdos. I really need to decide on an outro phrase.